Listen. Bet you can see me better now. Welcome back to another Ember's reality stream on my little corner of the internet here. How are you doing, Emberlies? I am live streaming because, again, I am trying to put forth so much more content for you guys than I have in the past because I have new content to share coming soon, but I'm still editing it. And life is still lifing, but I'm not letting it become an excuse for me, you know what? Let me get one more thing. Okay, because this is, it's a live stream. It's not a formal, video or anything. So let's get real nice and casual. So yeah, today we're going to do a couple things on this stream, starting with some life updates. I have officially been in my apartment for over a few months, and I'm still very much adjusting to living alone. I've talked about it in my other lives and some videos, how I think my younger self craved this mansion of independence and being alone. And I'm feeling that gratefulness. But there's for some reason always this dip of that little person in the back of your head that says, this is too alone. And I think both can be true. And I have a lot of things coming. I'm going to start doing fitness stuff. Not necessarily, I don't want to vlog my fitness journey because I don't have a fitness goal per se. And there's a culture around weight loss that I may talk about in one of my common culture videos. I don't want that to become my channel in any sense. I don't want my channel to become a weight loss channel. I just want it's a part of my life. And so I've been a sports person all my life. I did so many sports throughout elementary, middle school, and high school until my body kind of couldn't keep up. And I started feeling a lot of pain. And yeah, so I kind of retired and went more into the business route, creative route, and kind of just stuck with fitness on the side as kind of a way to relieve stress. And oh man, does it work. I don't know. I'm not like scientists have completely studied this and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to go back to working out a little bit more consistently. But I remember when I was doing when I felt like I was at my peak, like how much I want to work out within a week, I was going 5 days out the week. And what I will say is that my life structure is so much different than when I did that back then. So I'm I can't even let myself start to fall into that comparison because I'm I am in no way in the same structure of a life that can fit that. At least not at the moment, not immediately. So let's not even worry about that as being the goal. So I make my goals based off of you're supposed to make them smart goals, right? And measurable, all this stuff. So my goal isn't ever to I'm going to work out X amount of days. That's not a goal, in my opinion, that'll actually fan out. My goal would be to strengthen my core. And then in that would be be able to do this many, crunches and be able to increase, my flexibility in my back, stuff like that by doing more of these types of stretches. And then as I do those things, I'm okay, next week I'm going to make sure that I get deeper into this stretch. Way more measurable than I can actually make a fitness channel about. I don't want to do that. But I think that either way, there's going to be a dramatic difference from this live to like probably the end of the year, because of the increase of just like my fitness activities. And moving not only just into a new apartment, but to a new city, it's taken some time to kind of get comfortable with the thought of like leaving my space, leaving my independency, and going into the world and kind of like meeting new people. And um, I mean, I've met all my friends through that before, so it's like I know it's fine, but it's still always nerve wracking to do something like, for the first time, that because it feels uncertain. But I'm very certain that either way, it's going to be good for me, and that's a good way to start. Right. So moving on to more of like why I did this live stream genuinely was that I wanted to continue to talk about TV culture. We talked about reality TV, and there has been a whole bunch of updates that I wanted to like bring to your attention. And I'm sure you guys have probably already seen this stuff, and it's been trending on social media for a bit. But The Circle season 7 came out, and what I love about reality TV is when you allow it to let you in, like to suck you into whatever it's convincing you, you can be taken on a journey based off of what the edit gives you, And I know nothing about this girl, but if you watch this show, let's call her Lynn, and if you watch the show, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Um, this is not something I have to acknowledge about reality TV culture is the villains. I don't believe villains win. Villains only win when they're really, really good at something. When smart villains can win from time to time, but not in recent history. I don't think the producers want a villain to win most of the time. That's just not how storytelling kind of works unless you are purposely trying to do that for some reason. And typically that's not done with reality TV. Typically we want a winner that the community is going to enjoy. And, we're not trying to 100% make people like it, either way, trend's a trend, but it's like, I think 9 times out of 10, most people hating those shows would prefer the winner to be predominantly liked, or at least their game, even if it was a little twisted, was a perspective that can be respected. And so I think that's where like I go back to the culture. I'm just like, the game she played, was it a strategy? Yes. Was it a necessary strategy? I don't know how to defend that without starting to say like not so nice things about her. I feel like a person who uses strategy in that environment is so different than if you were placed in like the Traitors or Survivor. I think that's why you end up becoming a villain, is because everyone here can see that this wasn't the way you had to play. Because like I watched everything beginning to end, and I'm just like, what put you in any position to lie to your castmates when this game isn't inherently about lying? And I just don't believe villains win. So I'm like, what? And it was the reflection to your high school, Pat. I was just like, this is starting to feel a lot less like strategy and more like a defense mechanism. I feel like she got out of defensive out of nowhere. She wasn't really at the bottom. She could have snuggled in with Garrett when she came in with Garrett, got with Team Judasia, probably landed in the same spot. 5 or 4, whatever. What was she, third, something like that? I can't remember what number she came in. Um, but I think there's something about purposely choosing the villainous route that my brain just cannot respectably comprehend, because you have the ability to, these people were making last minute deals with their enemies. Like there were just so many avenues to where you could have made this work. And to choose the more villainous route to me is just a little hard of a pill to swallow. So yeah, the Circle season 7 was very she's right, she was the drama. But like let's also not pretend that it went as viral as it was like the first season. Like it didn't. I don't think this show has repeaked itself reason. Like it's a good show to just put in the background and listen to and just ooh, it's a little drama here, a little drama there. Um but will I forget her name immediately next year, like the people I kind of forgot last year? Yes, because this show has kind of, in my opinion, reached its peak of twists that can happen. I think that if they're going to change this game up, you know, I think that there has to be a dramatic rule change, and I don't know what that is. That's for their writers and people to figure out, producers and whatever. So after that, I wanted to talk a bit about some TV recommendations that I have, and I'm actually going to kind of show you some of them. So the first one is actually on right now, which is why I'm like looking back and forth. Because I'm like trying to make sure I record it so I can watch it later. But yeah, let's wait. Let's make sure I can share. So yeah, The Floor is a show where contestants stand on a floor. Okay, gosh. um, the floor is where people like get on, like have a topic that they're like supposed to be like confident in and know everything about, and go head to head someone else in a different topic. If you get chosen, you gotta challenge someone in a different topic. If you get chosen, they get challenged in your topic. What I've noticed is this trend of people who do not know their topics. And this season is even weirder. There's been a trend of people like this is in general. I think the strategy like moving forward is like why this game is so fun is that it tests people's ability to. It's that timer sense, and it's a psychological thing for sure. Where when things are ticking down, our brain almost feels this sense of urgency that's not even really there. Of course, it's urgent because you want to win, in that sense of like pride in the winning. But at the end of the day, you're not like you're. It feels like you're almost like your life is on the line, and that pressure can really change how people play. What has kind of frustrated um, is how much people just waste time on the clock. I think that because you understand this is a psychological thing, because you understand that like at the end of the day, um at the end of the day, you're competing against someone who doesn't know just as much as you don't know. You just need, I don't know, I know they lose time when they skip, but I think you just gotta do it fast. You gotta play on your own psychology. If it's not coming up first in my mind, I don't have time to shuffle through the, the cobwebs and get to the name. Skip and go. What I've also noticed is that like, which is not surprising, um, white people don't know. Well, I'm gonna say just white people, but non-black people do not know apparently of black shows, especially or black people or like black culture within media uh as quickly. And those who do, I'm literally like clapping for them because I'm like, thank you. I appreciate. There was one last season that I was like, how do you not know this person? It was insane. Another show that it's like it really makes me excited about watching it. It's not a reality show, but Found. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This show. First off, first off, look at the creator. Let's start there. Black, black as all heck, and that's not to say it had to be, but it makes a lot of sense with the nuance around processing trauma, severe trauma, at an early age in childhood, which many Black women unfortunately are exposed to at a rate higher than most. Um, she is somewhere I would just feel like we need to. This is someone in my tier list that I did with celebrities that's coming out soon in my next video. Which I wasn't supposed to say until the end, but it's fine. um, she is someone who is going to be Googleable in my F tier, where it's like, no, you did something kind of monumental. This show to me, actually, in my opinion, it's changing the culture. One, my mom, I brought it up when we were watching it. I was like, man, I didn't expect this type of level of progressiveness. I'll talk about it to get a little deeper in the show. And she was like, well, actually, NBC has a history of this. I believe they did Good Times and NBC Black shows history, Black sitcoms, Black TV shows. Um, I'll double check this and maybe that'll be okay. NBC Good Times. Oh. What do they call that? What channel played the original? Was it Good Times that she told me about? It was some classic CBS. Um, this is NBC, right? But she told me about a couple, and if I hear about it again, I'll put it in the comments later. But how much they actually did kind of pick up a couple of early like Black led shows, and I wonder if that is genuinely true, because if that is so, it's interesting that history. But even now in the present, this show is just continuing to hold on. Let me. Show is just continuing to like blow my mind. In the first season, we are taken through this woman right here. Um, she is kidnapped by, hold on, he's gonna pop up. This person right here. They're showing, not him. Nope, not him. He's gonna pop up right as I start talking about something else. But his name is Sir, and she's kidnapped by him, and she she pulls a reverse off to him. He pulls it in a reverse, and she actually kidnaps him. And skip forwarding into this season, you watch the season, you get it. Like, I want you to involve. There are her family, her or all other people who have been kidnapped, her, Lacey, and others. And I will do a little bit of synopsis of them, because I think that they play a huge like role in how I feel about this show, because they've done something for me that I don't really have typically do, which is this empathy towards. I have never felt so connected to the PTSD of this white woman who is able to pick up small details, because she's been basically trapped at the place she lost her son, who was kidnapped. And her therapy session, I have never felt so heard, and like, not necessarily something I heard before. This wasn't something I'd actually thought about in the past, but truly it was something new to me, where I was like, you're right. Like, she is stuck in that moment, and she is making choices based off of that moment. And it's driving her to do an impulse that inevitably, like, even if that kidnapper is still with your son and he is alive, you think he's going to bring him back to the place he kidnapped her? That's a young her, by the way. This is young her. And this is Sir. And she ends up, when she's this grown adult, actually kidnapping him again. But anyway, um, I was like, to create a space in a TV show to address what it feels like to be stuck at a traumatic point in your life. Living in reality, she's like actively helping people find their people. And yet, still at the end of the day, she has to go back to this space to find her son because her brain is trapped in there. And when she tries to go through it, she doesn't want to let it go. She doesn't want to. She feels almost ashamed to. And then when she's getting there, you know, season two's big twisty twist, he escapes, her escapes, and she has to tell everybody that she kidnaps her. And this is where more of my like current conversation comes from. And I'm actually come back here. Is I gotta say this right because it's unfiltered. Black female rage is often consistently caged. And femme authors who have portrayed their trauma. Maya Angelou comes to mind first. When that anger, torture, trauma is caged in a Black woman, and it's never really because of yourself, it's because of something that's happened to you that you feel like your anger, because of the angry Black woman trope, can never be valid. And it's not about just it being a trope and a stereotype, but also something that is systemically pushed on us socially, and systemically pushed on us. And this show is slowly diving, in my opinion. I might do a too deep analysis on the show after season two, after we explore a little bit more. But I think it will dive into the mind of if Black, not that I agree with what she did, but what I think people fear in Black women if we allowed our best things to make us villains. You know, if we, not an Omarosa, not like villains on TV, reality TV in particular, not those people. That's not what I mean. There are untold stories, even in my own family, I can think of that I'm not going to share, of the respect, the respect that comes with being a, like, getting respected as a Black woman almost comes with a sense of fear from others. It almost feels like it sometimes. Like the only way we can be respected is if we're feared, if we're revered, if we are put in a place of almost a step above. Hi, Sammy. Where we're put in a place where like we couldn't also be harmful, an issue, like the Black woman magic. It's like we're kind of questioning it in culture already, but I think this show is questioning it in its entirety. Found is showing that Black women don't get the support we need. Thank God she just kidnapped this man. I don't know how else to say it. It's like the calculated, like no one knew except for like one person. We could be as evil as our oppressors. We choose not to be. And I think that sometimes that is not applied to us like we are humans. And it's like, I am again not applauding her for kidnapping her kidnapper, which in itself is just so funny. like, like the shock in his, he was a shock as a narcissist, but I know for a moment he had to go like, is this how it feels? Is this what I've been doing to others? And then he immediately warps it into his own little thing. And again, watch the show to figure out how he warps it. But it's also the reason I feel like this is going to lead to that conversation is because we think about the history with Sir and how he was saved by a Black woman. And that is literally why he has this obsessive relationship with saving Gabby from her parental issues. That's like the first episode, so that's not giving nothing away. But literally he gets saved by this Black woman from his mother, which I'm not even 100% like. That is also the first thing I always have with like serial, like this show could not be done right if it was just another serial killer show, because everyone has horrible childhood trauma. Pretty much a lot of us. Black women have childhood trauma, as he did to Gabby. But Gabby takes hers and uses it, even if it's in a little crooked of a way, to help people. Whereas for some reason, certain demographics take that and want to find a position of power to do that to others. And again, I do think it happens across all demographics for sure. But there are certain demographics who feel this entitlement to like, well, how could you have dared to mess up my privileged childhood as a certain demographic? YouTube has its restrictions, so we're gonna play by them. But she kidnaps her kidnapper, and she doesn't torture him. She thought about not feeding him, but she fed him. She didn't kill him. And she had tried so many times to get justice through the criminal system, and it never came. And now this season 2 has happened. All the family's like, oh my God, Gabby, how dare you? The only person who has a right to be mad is Lacey. Because if you're going to kidnap our kidnapper, we going to do it together. We sisters. like Sammy, if you and a child, if hypothetically, we get kidnapped together, we escape, we find, and we're like, oh, we're going to find this person and we're going to kidnap him and keep him. We got to do that together. You can't do that without me. And Lacey is the only person who has a right to be like, this is not, this person is the only person who has the right to actually be angry at Gabby. The rest of them, I have a bit of an issue. We could absolutely talk about the white woman's kind of lack of ability to understand why not immediately turn him in. I think anytime a police has to be taken into consideration, Black people are always going to hesitate. Like, it's just going to happen. You just have to hope that there's someone around to make you feel safe about it. But she'd already done something criminal by probably not. She probably didn't like, hey, you want to get in my car? She probably did this a certain way that, if she had to take to the police, she would have got in trouble. And secondly, as we kind of saw with the third show I'm going to talk about right after this one, we're going to cut this one because they're already halfway through. Just because it takes a long time to get over revenge. And it takes a long time to convince yourself that what you're doing is wrong. And again, I'm from the as like this, knowing this is a show, I laugh at it, but it's like, that is obviously wrong what she did. But I don't get the shock of that. If I was in that scenario, I would be like, yeah, you know what? Should you have done it? Absolutely not. But I don't know how to explain it other than like, yeah, trauma makes you do things. And you experience quite a dramatic thing at a very young age, which is also, I think, forgotten about, is that Gabby was not an adult when this happened. The rest of them were kidnapped as adults. Her and Lacey were kidnapped as very, very young children. And I think that is also the nail on the hammer for me as like why this show hits so hard, is because I think that in particular is forgotten amongst Black women when it comes to trauma. That our trauma often happens extremely young, like way too young to be funny, because people do not listen to us, because people think we are being the angry Black woman trope that then silences our rage, and then when we finally feel like we can express it, of course it's not going to be expressed in the healthiest of ways. So you have years of this suppressed rage based off of people not listening to you, not believing you unless you went out and did it your literal self. um what did you like? Yeah, that's about right. She Olivia Pope the situation, and I love Scandal too, so that makes a lot of sense here. Black women who are defending themselves for themselves, I give a lot more leeway when they do some terrible ish, because it's like you're doing it for yourself. Like there's no one around you 100% understanding your perspective, to unless you find another Black woman to speak with, and that is Lacey. And I don't think she's Black. Is she? Yeah, I think her mom was Black. But and that is why she's the only person who has the right to be angry at Gabby. But the last show I'm going to talk about is called Irrational. Let me pull it up because it stars one of my like teenage obsessions was the Flash, and the Flash had a adopted father, and he played the Flash's adopted father. So I'm going to share my screen. The star of this was the Flash's adopted father. So yeah, this is The Irrational. Alec Mercer is a world-renowned behavioral scientist. I love Criminal Minds. Makes a lot of sense why I like this one. Again, it's a Black lead, and again, this is NBC, or is this? Yeah, this is NBC. Um, and so they're on twice on 2 different days, which I love, which means they both get their time to kind of shine. But it's about this guy who is basically what it sounds like, a psychoanalyst, and he was actually burned in a fire in the first season. We figured that out, and I was really good. To me, what I realized is like I don't know if they thought this was going to get a second season because we solved that mystery so quick. They could have elongated that, but no, we solved it in the first season. So if you haven't watched it, please go watch it. But also within that, I love being able to see why the brain, how easily the brain can be persuaded to do something, as long as you understand what the brain is doing and how much we do actually have control, but how, as the name says, we most often do the most irrational thing. And I think that when you accept that, there's this grace kind of given that I feel in this show, where it's like no one here is too above being psychoanalyzed. Whereas sometimes I feel like when psychoanalysts go on other shows, it's kind of this like standoffish, like you're abnormal, that's weird. Whereas in this show, it's kind of embraced that all of us are psychoanalysts, and that we are better when we psychoanalyze ourselves and understand in the moment, to the best of our ability, what biases are coming into our brain. And I try my best to um LOL. I try my best to do this in real life, where I'm not sitting and constantly confirming myself and my own biases. I try my best to allow myself to be psychoanalyzed by the other people around me. And I hear that back in jobs, in friendships, where people are just like, you're so self-aware. And I'm like, I just keep myself open to the things I know about myself that are true, which, for all of us, it's different. He talks to someone who, is dead set on revenge. And we actually learned that revenge is one of the hardest things to psychoanalyze and talk people out of, because it is justice. It's our natural justice system. But as a spiritual person, as a Christian, I think that is where the self-awareness came from. I try to take it as a confidence booster, because that to me is the only thing I think we really like. I'm going to do a whole nother video on Christian culture part 2. I talked more about the culture in the present, and I want to talk about more about like the culture I want to present to the world. But to shorten our video here, just when you psychoanalyze yourself to a degree, yes, it can be hard. Like what I've learned is therapy is hard when you psychoanalyze yourself, because you're so aware of why you're doing everything. But what that comes from is dissociation, when you dissociate from your emotions, which I happen to do. And so what has to happen is, which is what the irrational kind of focuses on, is there has to be some emotional connection to the change you're trying to make. Because it can be really hard in those hyper adrenaline situations to do the things you're self-aware of yourself about. It's one thing to be self-aware, and it's a second thing to be in the moment and change what you do and how you react. And that's the work that I have been putting in over like the past like 3 or 4 years. And I've only gotten like a smidgen better at, because it's so freaking hard to, one, it's again that feeling of revenge and your natural justice system. When you are being triggered, something's triggering you. That's valid. And the irrational is a whole like show about validating people's irrational fears. And it's and saying it deserves to be there, because that is going to help you for when real things come your way. It is your job as the human being with the brain to separate, is the reality matching the trigger, or is the trigger necessary? And that part and connection is so hard to build. And I think that the people who are the best at it are the people who end up obtaining peace, because at the end of the day, you are basically telling your brain that you're okay. And you almost have to grieve. Like I'm saying, like if found is during the grieving process, and I'm like, yeah, let your anger out, because if you cage it in, it's not gonna help. Irrational is then like, okay, once you're trying to accept that part of your process is over, a lot of the work is just like reacting differently in those situations. Because there are times where, like, even when I'm getting disrespected, it is so easy to get triggered into saying things that are mean or harmful, because you're trying to defend yourself, especially when you felt like you couldn't all your life. But what is best for my self-aware brain? It's not that. I don't feel good after that. I constantly question myself after that. The after effect is not as good as the feeling beforehand, which is quite what we said often about revenge. Revenge feels great in the planning process, but not so great after the fact. And that is with most impulses that our irrational fears make of us. So self-awareness is part of the process. The irrational points it out immediately, but when they go and solve like the crimes associated, is often, a little bit more nuanced than, the label that we can sometimes have for it in psychology. All right, it's already been 40 minutes. Gosh. Okay. I try not to make these streams over 40 minutes long. I don't want to, I want to be able to just post these. And I know that, not everybody wants to sit for 40 plus minutes just hearing me babble on. I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing. Hopefully this and a video more often, but next week we'll definitely have a video uploaded. And then I'll join you guys on another live stream, and we can figure out what we're going to talk about on our community chat. So Thank you guys for coming to my YouTube channel, Ember's Reality, sitting in my little corner of the internet. If you are new here, please go visit my YouTube channel and watch my videos where I talk about the culture and give actual advice of what I think we should be actually doing to move the culture in various topics, and Too Deep Analysis, where I take typically a show or a topic and do a way too deep dive into it, way deeper than it probably needs to. And as we probably found today, I'm going to probably do one about both of those shows in totality, but I'm going to give them some time just for us to not be spoiling things. So yeah, and I want to just say, may my faith be enough for us both, and I'll see you next time. Bye.